when I was in the music business, Eminem was one of my artists. And if it was a top rap record, it would sell 5 million copies. I mean, if it was big, 6 million, 7 million. Eminem comes out, sells 30 million records. Now, what the analytics told us was, where are these zip codes that they're buying rap music? But where he was selling, but he stood in front of a trailer park, talked about hating his mom, spoke about things that were so not part of the art form. But he was speaking to poor white people. Poor white people don't even have an Al Sharpton. They don't even have a Jesse Jackson. Nobody deals with poor white people. And when Eminem started selling to poor white people, it was a big, we never understood how he was touching them. And when I seen what Trump started, because of what I learned in the music business, I'm like, this guy he's speaking to those same people. The same disenfranchised people who nobody even cares about and does anything for.
Steve actually called out is actually quite fascinating, right? Because in this election cycle, there's a massive crossover effect that we don't quite understand yet, right? And so one of the pieces of the crossover is white Republican female married voters that there's no effing way they're going to vote for Trump, right? The flip side is actually just as incredible, right? Which Steve called out, which is the white male high school educated voter that no way he's going to vote for Hillary, right? And so this crossover effect has some really interesting phenomena. So let's actually look at the data surrounding this. So Anise, you want to type in a few addresses and let's see kind of, okay, that's your hometown where you grew up in Georgia, right? So let's look at Americus, Georgia. So what we're doing here, by way of background, is we're taking the SurveyMonkey data that came before and after the election cycle and bringing it together with 130 million households in the US and mapping what the demographic, firmographic records are basically telling us about their voter patterns and then projecting that to the 130 million households in the country. And then we can actually do this at a hyper-local level. We can search for an address, we can search for a zip code. And so go back to the previous screen there. So we can actually see now what that city or town is going to vote like, and we see where the dividing line between blue and red is. And then let's go ahead, and so at least for that particular location, it's going to be about 60% towards Hillary, about 37% towards Trump. Let's actually flip over and look at the national map just for a second. So this is what the national map plays out to be. No surprise, a lot of the populace is on the two coasts where you see the blue and then you see a sea of red right in the middle. Just scroll up a little bit and we'll see what the view looks like, at least as of last week. So this is before the email scandal, right? So we don't know how that's going to play out, but about 49% going towards Hillary, about 45% going towards Trump. And so if you look at this cycle, the data is telling us one thing, but to your point, there could be a whole different calculus that we don't understand because there's no voice for this disenfranchised audience. It's a good setup, Steve?
Well, it's a good setup, but the most important part of this that I hope we all learned is that no matter who gets elected, we have a huge problem.
Yep.
I mean, that's a huge problem. The fact that it's that split with that extreme point of view. The fact that that extreme point of view even has traction is a lead indicator that we have a lot of work to do. And that's what I've got out of this whole experience, is that I wrote the book, The Tanning of America, and every time I see statements about, I believe that the next generation, because of access to information, that there was a better sense of understanding one another, a better sense of coming together, and it wasn't based off of color, it was based off of shared values. So if I'm African American and you're Spanish and you like skateboarding, we like skateboarding. We don't like that, we like that. And that's where you want it to be. Like, we cluster based off of values. But you start seeing some of this outlying behavior and you realize no matter how far we've come, we have a lot.
So is technology, in your view, accelerating that dislocation or bringing us back together?
I think, you know, in the beginning, I thought like access to information and being able to learn about somebody else's culture through searching it, seeing pictures, all of the things that you get of videos, that's one thing. But then you get this, at the same time, you have people using technology to spread hate. Mm-hmm. You know, so I felt like the initial first run of it was all good, that we were finding ways to come together. And then it's an open platform where people started utilizing it for bad. And so, you know, I have a mixed point of view on it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I still think it's the right thing to do and people should be entitled to their opinion. I just feel like we as a country have to, when you leave people, everywhere you go in disenfranchised places, when you see that, you see poverty, you feel like people don't care, no one's looking out for them, you see disruption, you see problems, you see anarchy, and you see guys that can come in and turn that into, you know, an army of bad. And that's all we're seeing. That's all this is. And we see it all around the world. So this is not shocking that it's happening. It's just alarming that it's happening in 2016 in America.